Inside BYD's DMi hybrid system, how a Chinese brand is legitimately beating Toyota at its own hybrid game, at least on paper and in a lot of real-world use. You jump into a BYD Qin Plus DMi or Song Plus DMi, drive it around town, and it does 60 to 80 miles per gallon equivalent in traffic, glides like an EV, and the gas engine barely wakes up. Then you get on the highway and it cruises like a normal car, with no weird droning or screaming. And you think, wait, this feels smoother than a Prius. It's using less fuel in the city and it's cheaper. Did BYD really just out-Toyota on hybrids? That's the question a lot of engineers and car nerds are quietly asking right now. Because DMi is not just another hybrid, it's a very specific design that takes Toyota's core idea, blend engine and electric, and then leans harder into the EV side in a way Toyota hasn't, at least in its mainstream cars. I'm GearHead. I don't care that BYD is Chinese or that Toyota is Japanese. I care about how the system is architected, where the stress lives, and what that means when these things are no longer brand new showroom heroes. If you want to understand why DMi feels the way it does and what it means for long-term ownership, make sure you're subscribed because this is exactly where the future hybrid war is actually happening. Let's pull DMi apart and stack it against Toyota's hybrid synergy drive so you can see how BYD is playing the game differently and in some ways more aggressively. First, what is DMi in simple terms? BYD calls DMi a super hybrid, but that's marketing. Architecturally, it's a plug-in, series-dominant hybrid with a direct engine connection at higher loads. Sound familiar? It's actually very close in concept to Honda's e-HEV and Nissan's e-Power, but with a plug-in hybrid twist. BYD went all in with a large traction motor, a big battery relative to a normal hybrid, an engine optimized to run as a generator most of the time, and a clutch and fixed gear to connect the engine directly to the wheels in specific scenarios. Here is a simplified DMi layout. It uses an Atkinson cycle gasoline engine, often 1.5 liters, with or without a turbo depending on the version. There is a generator motor connected to the engine, and a traction motor connected to the wheels. It has one or more clutches and a fixed ratio gear path from the engine to the wheels. And it uses a relatively high-capacity battery compared to Prius-style hybrids, giving real EV range, often 50 to 100+ kilometers NEDC or CLTC. The key points are that in low to medium speeds in city driving, the motor does almost everything. The engine mostly runs as a generator to keep the battery charged. On the highway or during heavy acceleration, a clutch links the engine mechanically to the wheels to improve efficiency and performance. So DMi is EV dominant in city use, a series hybrid in many load conditions, and a parallel or direct hybrid at higher speeds. Toyota's classic hybrid synergy drive is the reverse in emphasis. It uses a smallish battery and a medium-sized motor. The engine and motor are always mechanically tied via a planetary gear set. EV mode is short and secondary. The engine is a primary player. That's the first big way BYD beat Toyota at its own hybrid game in the eyes of many drivers. They took the hybrid formula and said, make it drive like an EV almost all the time and let the engine be a quiet, efficient background generator and highway assistant. Toyota said, make the engine the main guy and let the motor assist when it makes sense. To most modern buyers, the DMi feeling is simply nicer. Let's talk drive feel first because that's what people notice immediately. In a BYD DMi car around town, you press the pedal and you get electric torque, no lag and no shifts. The engine often stays off or runs at a low, steady RPM in the background. Takeoffs are smooth and quiet. Regenerative braking does heavy lifting, and friction brakes feel well-tuned. There's a real EV-like vibe, as most daily low-load, low-speed work happens with the traction motor in charge. A Toyota hybrid in similar use starts in EV mode sometimes, but the engine wakes quickly. It uses the e-CVT power split so engine RPM can rise and sit in one place. It feels smooth, but you're more aware of the engine's presence, especially in older generations. EV-only operation is short, and the battery is small. You're still mostly engine with electric help. That's not bad, hybrid synergy drive is brilliant, but DMi's default experience is simply more in line with what people now expect after driving Teslas and other EVs. Silent starts, smooth torque, and the engine as background noise, not the star. for the 2026 customer brain, DMi's hierarchy of motor first, engine second just feels more right. Now efficiency, where DMi really tries to hit Toyota. Toyota's hybrid logic uses a small battery, usually 1 to 2 kilowatt-hours on many non-plug-in systems. The motor is sized to help but not dominate, and the engine is chosen for Atkinson cycle efficiency. From the engineer's perspective, this offers simplicity, low cost, wide range efficiency, and bulletproof reliability. BYD's DMi logic uses a plug-in battery of around 10 to 30 kilowatt-hours depending on the model. The motor is sized to be a true primary drive source, and the engine is heavily optimized for generator duty. You plug it in and you get significant EV-only range, often enough to cover daily commuting. That means if you actually plug in daily, DMi can function like an EV most of the time with almost no gasoline usage, and the engine only really works on long trips or when you push it. Even when you don't plug in or after the EV range is depleted, DMi still favors running the engine in its peak efficiency window as a generator rather than constantly revving with your foot like a conventional internal combustion engine. Toyota's regular hybrids are non-plug-in, so they can't cheat with grid energy. They must use gasoline energy for everything. They compete purely on how well they use that fuel at all speeds. From a pure liters per 100 kilometers or miles per gallon metric, a full battery DMi is going to obliterate a Prius or Camry hybrid over short distances because it just uses almost no fuel. Even when both are in depleted battery hybrid mode, DMi's series-dominant design can be very efficient in city use.
On the highway, things get closer. DMi shifts into direct engine drive more often for efficiency, while Toyota's power split lets the engine run efficiently with some electric help. In steady long-distance driving, Toyota's mature hybrid synergy drive can match or beat DMi in some situations, but the big story is city and mixed use, where DMi plus plug-in ability makes Toyota's non-plug-in look old school. That's why on paper and in early real-world tests, DMi looks like it beats Toyota on headline economy numbers, especially in markets where people actually plug the cars in. Okay, but what about engineering risk and longevity? This is where the Beat Toyota story gets complicated. For Toyota's hybrid synergy drive, they have 20-plus years of global experience across taxis, fleets, and private owners. Their transaxles survive 300,000-plus miles regularly. Weak points are known and documented, like EGR clogging on certain engines, head gasket risk with heat or neglect, and battery cooling fan issues if never cleaned. For BYD DMi, it's much newer. Mass rollout really took off in the early to mid-2020s, so there are not nearly as many 10 or 15-year-old examples. Field data beyond 150,000 to 200,000 kilometers is growing, but not historically deep. BYD has long experience with batteries and EV motors, but hybrid engine generator clutch life at 300,000 miles is still to be determined. From a design standpoint, DMi has more moving pieces than a pure EV and a different set of stress points than a Toyota hybrid. Key DMi stress points at extreme mileage include traction motor bearings and insulation, because it's always driving the wheels, the generator motor and its bearings, which are often spinning anytime the engine is on, the engine itself, which is optimized for efficiency, but in generator mode it can see sustained high load at certain conditions, and the clutch and fixed ratio gear path for direct drive, which engages at speed and must handle torque without shudder or slip. Toyota's hybrid synergy drive stress points include the planetary gear set and motor generators, though they are heavily understressed by design. Inverter cooling and battery cooling are critical but well refined, and the Atkinson engine, operating under power split, has known issues only in specific generations. Toyota's historic approach has been to sacrifice some performance, some fun, and some bleeding-edge tech to make hybrids that just work for a long time. BYD's DMi approach is to push harder for EV drive feel and economy now, and accept a bit more complexity and unknowns to win the present-day spec war. If you care about 300,000-mile proven systems, Toyota still has a massive lead. If you care about a 2026 spec EV-like hybrid experience and you'll keep the car for 5 to 10 years, DMi is extremely compelling. There's also the market context. Toyota's hybrids were designed to be simple enough to service worldwide. durable under bad fuel, poor maintenance, and weak charging infrastructure, and non-plug-in so they can work identically in markets with zero EV support. BYD DM-i was designed in a different era and target: China's dense cities, a growing charging infrastructure, a government push for plug-ins, and a customer base that has already gotten used to EV torque and silence. So DM-i is better for the world BYD is playing in right now. Plug-in ability plus cheap electricity plus short urban commutes means DM-i crushes. Toyota's non-plug-in hybrid is better for a world where charging is inconsistent, owners are indifferent to plugging in, durability in rough conditions is non-negotiable, and fleets want minimum complexity and known longevity. Put DM-i in a fleet that never plugs in a harsh climate with abused maintenance. We don't yet have 15 years of history to say how it holds up. Put a Prius in that same fleet, and we kinda do. We've already watched it. So, did BYD beat Toyota at their own game? From a 2026 spec sheet and daily drive perspective, especially in plug-in form, yeah, in a lot of ways they did. More EV range, more EV feel, insane city economy numbers when charged, aggressive pricing, and smart packaging. From a 20-year durability engineering perspective, that's where Toyota still has the crown. For now. BYD is catching up fast. They have deep battery expertise, they're pushing hybrids forward in ways that are forcing Toyota to respond. That's good for everyone. But if you asked me today, which system would you personally bet on reaching 300,000 miles based on everything we know in 2026? I'd say this. For a 10 to 15-year minimal hassle proven bet, it's Toyota's hybrid synergy drive with e-CVT, no question. For a 5 to 10-year EV-like daily driver where you actually plug in and want ridiculous efficiency and a modern feel, BYD DM-i is a genuinely impressive piece of engineering that, yes, beats Toyota's current non-plug-in hybrids at their own miles per gallon and drivability game. If this helped you see why DM-i is more than just hype, and also why Toyota isn't dead just because a newer system beats it on some charts, make sure you're subscribed. Next, I'm going to do something most people aren't touching yet. I'll walk through what you'd actually want to inspect on a used DM-i car versus a used Toyota hybrid in 5 to 7 years. I'm talking batteries, clutches, inverters, and engine health, so you're not guessing when these start hitting the second-hand market in big numbers. I'm GearHead. Every hybrid architecture has a story, and together, we're going to decode both the legend Toyota built and the challenger that wants that crown.